What's up, guys? Welcome to Gwhisky. My name is Jeff. This is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around to the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. If that sounds interesting, hit subscribe down below, and with that out of the way, let's jump into our review. Today, we're looking at the Kavalan Solist Bourbon cask. Stick around. Alright, so these reviews have been a long time coming. For those of you who watch the channel regularly, you'll know that I live in Taiwan. Taiwan, of course, is a very famous place in the world of whiskey. We have a brand here called Kavalan, and Kavalan is well known for producing some of the finest world whiskeys in the world. Now, there are other distilleries operating out of Taiwan, and they make legitimately nice whiskey, but generally speaking, I think in the whiskey context, when you think of Taiwan, you're going to associate it with Kavalan. Kavalan is a pretty new distillery. They only started distilling in 2006, and within 10 years of opening, they were already like raking in accolades, Whiskey of the Year, World Whiskey of the Year, that kind of thing. Part of the reason these whiskeys are so good at such a young age is because Taiwan is a subtropical climate, meaning it's very warm here. There's lots of angels here. There's a lot of interaction between the spirit and the wood. So by international standards, their whiskeys do come at a very young age. But as we all know, age can be, but isn't necessarily an indicator of quality, especially when we factor in climate. Now, one nice thing about these Solist releases is that they give us a lot of transparency. So they'll give us the distillation date, the bottling date. Through that, we can calculate the age. These are all single cask releases, the Solist ranges. So they'll have like the cask type, the cask number, all that nerdy stuff that we love. My bottle here was distilled on the 9th of December 2011 and then bottled on September 29th, 2017. So it's not a recent bottle. It's a 5-year-old whiskey. And the reason I know all that is, first thing I do, I look at the front of the cask, or front of the bottle rather. You're going to have B for bourbon, S for sherry, W for wine at the start of your code. And then you'll move on to the year, the month, and then the day. Then if you look at the back of the bottle, you'll get the bottling date, which means you can now calculate the age. So again, great transparency here. These are cask strength whiskeys, which is always a good thing. This one, of course, is the bourbon offering. Everything sounds great, so why don't we dive into our whiskey, see what it's all about, and in the meantime, if you could kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. So, as I just mentioned, this is a cask strength offering. It comes in at 55.6%. It's, of course, going to be non-chill filtered, and our color is going to be natural, so stamp of approval. So, a beautiful natural color to our whiskey. I always like these bottles. I think the Solist bottles look great. Usually, the Bourbon Solist comes in a white label. This one's green. They do that sometimes to kind of switch it up. But yeah, it looks both classy and very simple and straightforward. I like the logo. I like the fonts, I like the border, the little building design. It all works for me, so presentation score is going to be 5 out of 5. We've got all the info we need right here. We've got non-chill filtered and natural color. We've got cask number, we've got distillation date, bottling date, bottle number, all the info you'd want, so great stuff. I did not add water. Let's try the nose. Bright, big, and clean. Definitely a tropical vibe to this. Some papaya, some banana, some green mango in here. Some fresh pears, some bright ginger, some white ice wine. We've got some vanilla ice cream with sprinkled on nuts. We've got some malty notes. We've got some grainy notes in here, and certainly some oak. Let's try our palate. Big. Very oily, very mouth coating. Definitely starts off sort of oak forward, and then that fruitiness starts to set in. Lots of big, juicy pear notes in here. Actually, it's interesting. We have fresh pears in here, and we also have like a fermented pear note. It's really nice. We also have some green grapes, some sultanas, some bananas, starfruit, cream, and papaya. And now our finish. Pear liqueur, fermented pear. some ginger, some sweet white wine. We have more of that cream, like that creamy milky note that I absolutely love. Our finish here is long with sweet yellow fruits and some gentle spices hanging about. Alright, so this is really good stuff. I know that people usually think I'm going to sort of gravitate towards the sherried expressions, and that's true, I often do, but I like the bourbon traditionally as much as I've liked the Kavalan Solist sherry, and I love the sherry, but I love this stuff too. Even stuff like the vino and the port, anytime you have a Solist, it's likely to be good, although there are some batch variations. But yeah, anyway, this bourbon has often been my favorite when we've done like shootouts with all the Kavalan Solists. I really do enjoy this one, and some of the better batches have been some of my favorite bourbon matured whiskeys, just period. It's the intensity, it's the density, it's the power of the flavor, and most of all, it's probably those signature tropical yellow fruits that really sell this stuff. Now, the bottle I have here is a little bit different from most of the other Kavalan Solist bourbons that I've tried, and actually that's a little bit unfortunate because usually when you review a single cask batch release whiskey, you do want to get your hands on a bottle that captures the general level of quality and the general flavor profile that you're used to from that release. So when your bottle happens to be a little bit of an outlier, it does skew the review in a certain direction, probably more so than you'd like, but this is the bottle I have, so this is the bottle I'm going to review. But yeah, just be aware that this one is a little bit different from most of the other bourbons that I've had. This one tastes darker, it tastes heavier, there's more cask influence here, definitely more oak, there's more of a thickness to it, so it's still a really good one, I'm enjoying it immensely, but yeah, slightly different, a little bit atypical. So the question is, how would I compare this to what I would call the standard flavor profile from this release? Do I like it more? Do I like it less? And I like it a little bit less, and only slightly, but I do find myself missing some of those brighter, cleaner, crisper, more tropical notes that I tend to associate with this bottle. And this one still is bright and clean and tropical. It just feels a little bit heavier than some of the other releases. And that's going to be great if you like a sweeter, thicker texture to your whiskey, if you want more of an oak influence, if you want it to feel a little bit heavier. This one is going to work out for you. It's still a great whiskey. It really comes down to your personal preference. I find myself missing some of those brighter notes, but I still thoroughly enjoy this whiskey. It's a 90. And despite not being my favorite batch of this release, I still find it to be very drinkable. It's very moreish, high reachability, and I do like that heavier, sweeter, thicker fruitiness. I don't like it quite as much, but it does bring something different to the table, and it's absolutely delicious. Yeah, the quality of these releases is always really, really high, so even a batch that I don't like quite as much as some others still gets a ridiculous score. It still gets a 90, so it's one of these things where, yes, there is batch variation, but the standard of quality is always through the roof, so you're pretty safe if you're thinking of picking this one up. It is recommended. So value for Kavalan Solist whiskeys is always a little bit tricky. I'm very lucky. I live in Taiwan. This is where they make this stuff, and it is cheaper here. So for example, this bottle cost me precisely 100 US, around 75 pounds, which is extremely worth it. It's fantastic value. But if you're buying these abroad, oftentimes the price is double what we pay here. And at that price, I'm not entirely sure that it's worth it, but I will say this, out of the Solist range, this one is definitely the easiest one to recommend for a couple reasons. First of all being, I like it more. I think this is one of the best Solist releases you can buy. Secondly, it's the cheapest from the Solist line. So for those two reasons, if you're going to pick up any Solist, you might as well start with this one. It's a fantastic whiskey, and if it's within your budget, try it out. Alright, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to help support the channel, please consider becoming a patron. Otherwise, you can like, comment, and subscribe. That's always appreciated. I do want to hear from you. Have you tried our Solist Bourbon here? How much did you pay for it? Did you feel it was worth it? And finally, down below in the comments, let me know what you want to see me review next, and I'll keep it in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.